Close your eyes for a moment and imagine this. You learn a new English word today. Tomorrow, you still remember it. Next week, it is still in your mind. Next month, you are using it naturally in a sentence without thinking. This is not magic. This is not talent. This is the result of learning vocabulary the right way. In this complete guide, you will understand how to remember vocabulary forever. Not for one day, not for one exam, but for real life. Many English learners feel frustrated with vocabulary. They learn new words every day. They write them in notebooks. They use apps. They memorize meanings. But after a few days, the words disappear. When they try to speak, the words are not there. This creates stress and self-doubt. You start thinking that you are bad at English or that your memory is weak. But the truth is simple. The problem is not your memory. The problem is the method. Human memory does not work well with isolated information. When you learn words alone, without meaning, without emotion, without context, your brain does not see them as important. The brain is designed to forget things that are not useful. So if you learn a word today and never see it again in a meaningful situation, your brain will delete it. This is natural. Forgetting is not failure. Forgetting is how the brain works. To remember vocabulary forever, you must work with your brain, not against it. You must give words meaning, emotion, repetition, and connection. Words are not just letters. Words are tools for communication. When you treat words as living things instead of dead information, your memory changes. The first key to remembering vocabulary forever is context. A word learned alone is weak. A word learned inside a sentence is stronger. A word learned inside a story is powerful. When you learn a word in context, your brain connects it with a situation. For example, if you learn the word relaxed inside a story about someone resting after a long day, your brain remembers the feeling. Later, when you feel calm, the word relaxed comes naturally. This is how memory works. Another important factor is emotion. Emotion makes memory strong. If a word is connected to a feeling, it stays longer. This is why you remember words from movies, songs, or emotional moments more easily than words from a list. When you learn vocabulary, try to feel the word. Is it happy, sad, angry, calm, exciting? The feeling becomes a hook that holds the word in your mind. Repetition is also essential, but repetition must be natural. Writing the same word 10 times is boring and weak. Hearing the word in different sentences is strong. Seeing the word used in different situations is powerful. Each time you meet the word again, your brain says, "This is important." Slowly, the word becomes permanent. One of the biggest mistakes learners make is trying to learn too many words at once. They learn 20 or 30 words in one day. The brain becomes overloaded. When the brain is overloaded, it remembers nothing well. Fewer words learned deeply are better than many words learned quickly. When you slow down, your memory improves. Another mistake is learning words without using them. Vocabulary is not something you collect. Vocabulary is something you use. If you learn a word and never say it, never hear it, never think with it, it stays weak. Using a word in a sentence, even a simple sentence, makes the word stronger. Speaking activates memory more than reading or writing alone. Listening is one of the most powerful ways to remember vocabulary. When you hear words spoken naturally, your brain learns pronunciation, rhythm, and usage at the same time. Listening creates a deep memory because it uses sound, meaning, and context together. This is how children learn vocabulary, by listening, not by memorizing lists. Stories are especially powerful for vocabulary memory. Stories create pictures in your mind. They create emotions. They create connections between words. When you learn vocabulary through stories, words are no longer separate. They become part of a living scene. This is one of the best ways to remember vocabulary forever. Another important concept is spaced repetition. This means seeing the same word again after some time, not immediately. When you meet a word today, then again after one day, then after a few days, then after a week, the memory becomes stronger each time. Your brain rebuilds the memory again and again. Each rebuild makes it more permanent. But spaced repetition does not need to be complicated. You do not need complex systems. Simply meeting words again in videos, stories, conversations, or reading is enough. Natural exposure works well because it feels easy and enjoyable. Understanding is more important than memorization. When you truly understand a word, you do not need to force memory. For example, if you understand the idea of confidence, you will recognize it in many situations. The word becomes part of your thinking. Understanding creates long-term memory. Translation can be helpful at the beginning, but it should not be the final step. If you always connect English words to your native language, the memory stays weak. Try to connect words directly to meaning, images, and feelings. Think of the word, not the translation. This makes memory faster and stronger. Another powerful method is personalization. Words connected to your own life stay longer. If you learn the word busy, think about your own busy day. If you learn the word proud, think about a moment when you felt proud. Your brain remembers personal experiences very well. When words connect to your life, they stay. Speaking to yourself is also very effective. You do not need a partner all the time. You can describe your day, your thoughts, or your plans using new words. Speaking aloud activates a different part of the brain. This strengthens memory and confidence at the same time. Writing can also help, but only when it is meaningful. Writing random sentences is less effective. Writing about your life, your feelings, or a story using new words is much stronger. Meaningful writing builds memory. One important thing to understand is that forgetting is part of learning. Do not feel bad if you forget a word. Forgetting gives your brain a chance to learn again. When you remember a word after forgetting it, the memory becomes stronger than before. This is how long-term memory is built. Many learners stop reviewing words they think they already know. This is a mistake. Even known words need occasional exposure. Language is like a muscle. If you do not use it, it becomes weak. Regular exposure keeps vocabulary alive. Another reason vocabulary is forgotten is stress. Stress blocks memory. When you learn with pressure, fear, or anxiety, your brain focuses on survival, not learning. Relaxed learning is more effective. Enjoyment improves memory. When learning feels light, memory works better. Confidence also plays a role. When you believe you are bad at remembering words, your brain accepts this belief. This becomes a self-fulfilling problem. Change the belief. Say to yourself, I can remember words. I am improving. This positive mindset supports memory. Pronunciation is connected to memory too. When you know how a word sounds, it becomes easier to remember. Silent words are weak. Spoken words are strong. Always try to hear and say new words. Another powerful technique is association. Connect new words to words you already know. For example, if a word reminds you of another word, an image, or a situation, use that connection. The brain loves connections. Isolated information is easily forgotten. Learning vocabulary is not about speed. It is about depth. Deep learning creates permanent memory. Shallow learning creates temporary memory. Choose depth. Take your time with each word. Daily exposure is more important than long study sessions. 10 minutes every day is better than 2 hours once a week. Daily contact keeps words fresh. It tells your brain that English is important. Reading also helps, especially easy and enjoyable reading. When you read texts that are too difficult, your brain gets tired. When you read simple texts, you notice words naturally. Natural noticing creates strong memory. Listening and reading together are very powerful. When you see and hear words at the same time, multiple senses are involved. This creates stronger memory traces in the brain. Sleep is also important. Memory is strengthened during sleep. When you learn words and then sleep well, your brain organizes and stores the information. Lack of sleep weakens memory. Patience is essential. Vocabulary grows slowly but steadily. You do not notice progress every day, but over weeks and months, the difference becomes clear. One day, you will understand conversations more easily. You will speak with less effort. This is the result of consistent vocabulary exposure. Comparing yourself to others harms memory. Everyone learns at a different speed. Focus on your own journey. Celebrate small progress. Each remembered word is a success. The goal is not to know many words, but to use the words you know well. Active vocabulary is more important than passive vocabulary. Words you can use are more valuable than words you recognize only. Over time, words learned deeply become automatic. You no longer think about them. They appear naturally when you need them. This is true vocabulary mastery. Remember that vocabulary learning never ends. Even native speakers learn new words. This is normal. Enjoy the journey instead of rushing the destination. When you change your method, vocabulary stops being a problem. It becomes a natural part of your daily life. Words appear again and again. Each appearance strengthens memory. You are not bad at vocabulary, you just need the right approach. A calm mind, meaningful context, natural repetition, and patience are enough. Trust your brain. It is designed to learn language. Give it the right environment, and it will do the work for you. From today, stop chasing words. Let words come to you through listening, stories, conversations, and real usage. Slowly, quietly, vocabulary will stay with you. And one day, you will realize that the words you once struggled to remember are now part of who you are. This is how you remember vocabulary forever.